The night began like any other until my phone buzzed at 2 a.m. I was drifting between sleep and consciousness when I noticed a message from my husband's phone. Only it wasn't him who sent it. It was his supervisor. "She's with me now. Don't wait up." The words snapped me awake. For a moment I just stared, letting the shock settle in my chest like a weight. I didn't scream, didn't curse, didn't even sit up quickly. Instead, I typed back slowly, almost emotionlessly. "Keep him. We're finished." The message felt like sealing a door shut, even though my mind spun with anger, disbelief, and the dull ache of betrayal. I lay back, staring at the ceiling, imagining the two of them smirking, imagining how sure they must have felt of their little victory. But they had no idea what was waiting for them. Half an hour later, the doorbell rang. A chill ran down my spine. I looked through the peephole and saw him, my husband's supervisor, standing there, chest puffed out in triumph. Beside him, my husband looked shaken, eyes red, face blotched from crying. They expected a spectacle. They expected me to collapse, rage, beg. I did none of that. I opened the door calmly and stepped aside to let them in. "So you brought him back," I said quietly, like a teacher addressing two unruly children. Their confidence flickered for the first time. My husband couldn't meet my eyes. His supervisor tried to hold on to his bravado but failed as I gestured for them to sit in the living room. "You both look exhausted," I murmured, almost mocking. "Long night. Celebrating your achievement." The supervisor laughed weakly. My husband's tears began to fall again. The air grew thick, heavy, uncomfortable. I leaned forward. "Do either of you understand what you've actually done?" "I did nothing wrong," the supervisor snapped. "He wanted this. You don't own him." I nodded slowly, letting silence do the work. Then I pulled out my phone. "Interesting thing about phones," I said softly. "All the messages, the photos, the little videos you two exchanged. I sent them to HR, to his company's leadership, and to a few legal contacts." His supervisor's smugness evaporated instantly. "Wait, what? You can't. What are you talking about?" I tapped a button, letting more files send while he watched helplessly. "You thought this made you powerful," I continued. "But all you did was hand me evidence." My husband broke into quiet sobs, covering his face. The supervisor's breathing grew shaky. He finally understood that his arrogance had turned into a trap of his own making. I stood up slowly. "You believed taking him from me would be easy. That I'd crumble. That his tears would make me desperate." He opened his mouth to argue, but I raised a hand. "No. Enough." I walked to the kitchen, filled a glass of water, and handed it to him. He accepted it with trembling hands, the absurdity dawning on him. He was sitting in my home, powerless, watching his reputation collapse. My husband whispered, "I didn't mean for it to go this far, I cut him off gently. "Stop. You both made choices. Now you live with them." Notifications buzzed on my phone. Delivery confirmations, HR replies, legal acknowledgments. "You can't do this," the supervisor whispered. "I already did," I said simply. "Everything you two tried to hide is now documented and in the hands of people who actually have authority over your careers." He looked sick. My husband sank further into the couch, guilt swallowing him whole. I didn't need to raise my voice. I didn't need theatrics. Calm truth was doing more damage than anger ever could. By the time 30 more minutes passed, HR had already responded. Complaint was being filed. An investigation was underway. The supervisor looked like he might faint. Everything he thought he controlled was slipping right out of his hands. By dawn, the house was silent. My husband sat in the corner, exhausted and shaken, realizing the enormity of what he'd risked. His supervisor had been escorted off company premises pending investigation. Legal notices were already in motion. And me. I sat with my morning coffee, steady and at peace. What could have shattered my life instead became the collapse of their illusions, an exposure of greed, arrogance, and impulsive betrayal. I didn't win through rage. I won through calm, deliberate action. And as the sun rose, I realized I hadn't lost anything of value, only the people who had thrown themselves away.